Past couple of months, and if you speak to some people, a couple of years have been tough. It's been a real grind, right? It's like you've really had to work hard to make your money, as opposed to some periods in the past where it's been much easier. The market's kind of rewarded you, and there's been a lot more easy money around. To use a poker term, a lot more fish, I guess. Whereas nowadays, it's very much it's pro against pro all the time, right? So you've really got to grind to make your money. And I think I've had a couple of conversations over the past few days with two or three guys where they're talking in various ways, shapes, and forms about, like I'm just over it, right? And they all say it in different ways, but they're basically talking about like getting just burnt out on the markets, right? Now, I think when a lot of people talk about burnout, they in their mind they have this picture of people just absolutely losing it and smashing their screens, and I don't want to go into the office for weeks at a time, and I just want to curl up in a heap and cry into my pillow and blah blah blah. Usually, it's not like that. What honestly happens is that people they just it's more about like apathy, right? They just almost don't care, and they come into the market, they come and sit down at their desk, and they're not as focused as they should be, and they kind of look at the market with 50% attention on the market and 50% attention somewhere else. Their prep's not as good as it should be. They stop doing their reviews. They just lack that motivation, and they just don't really care. That's really where it manifests more. Look, sure, you do get the guys that grind themselves to the absolute bone, and they break down and they get sick and they etc. But it's more often you just get sick and tired of grinding every day, right? And that can be bad news for your P&L, because you think of a professional sportsman in particular, in like a contact sport, stepping onto the field and not really caring, like you're going to get hurt, right? So you have to be fully engaged when you're doing this. Now that doesn't mean that everyone's going to be at 100% all the time. That doesn't happen either. But you've got to be at least good. You can't be at kind of crappy and get by for long periods of time. You've got to be at least good, and then through that natural sort of getting in the groove and getting in sync with the markets, that will take you to times when you're trading really well. But I think that good is kind of a prerequisite in terms of your focus levels and your desire to trade, that you need to be successful. So it happens to a lot. It happens to a lot of people. It happens all the time. And I think in a lot of ways, it's almost like as someone that has been involved in recruiting and training traders for a while now, I think it's almost a fault of the industry, right? Because we absolutely pre-select for work ethic. We love guys that can tell us stories about how hard they work, etc. Because we're trying to avoid the scenarios where someone comes in and we pour a bunch of time and money and effort into them and end up just being lazy. And so we kind of make a rod for our own back, so to speak. Look, it's a better problem to have, but we do need to be more cognizant, I think, of actually helping people manage their work ethic and manage their time and manage their effort and manage their emotional and mental capital, as much as we help them manage their financial capital in terms of their account size. So we absolutely pre-select for work ethic. Everyone loves war stories about the hours they worked and all that kind of stuff, and sleeping under the desk and blah 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 blah. And I've told those same stories, and I've done all that stuff. We have kind of like a hard work or hours worked fetish almost in this business, which is progressively becoming more and more dated and more kind of like dinosaur age type of stuff. Raw hours is not the be all and end all, and this is a slippery slope, right? Because you say to some people, look, raw hours is not the be all and end all, and what they want to do is they're 3 or 6 months into their trading career and they want to trade 1 hour a day. That doesn't work either. So there is an element of you have to pay your dues and you've got to put in the graft, but you need to do it intelligently. You need to do it within reason, right? Like, it's not, to give you just a super simple example, most markets that you trade, the first the first couple of hours, the last couple of hours are at anything around a tier 1 news event are going to be the best times to trade. Just as a general rule of thumb heuristic, the first 90 minutes to 2 hours, the last 90 minutes to 2 hours, and anything around a big news event. The rest of the time is usually a bit of muck. Now, that doesn't mean that that's every day, okay? And I'm not saying that if you decide, okay, so I'm going to go out during lunch, I'm not going to trade during lunch, that you're not going to walk back on one day and sit there and go, man, there was just an absolute A1 opportunity that I missed because I was out having a cup of coffee and enjoying the sunshine. It's going to happen, okay? But as a general rule, those are the type of things you can start implementing, right? Just trying to focus your trading on the times when there's actually something to do. And if there isn't anything to do, not just sitting staring blindly at the screen, wasting that mental and emotional capital. It's pretty well known. Over Christmas time, markets get very quiet. Now, I know traders where that's their best time of the year. They love trading over Christmas because a lot of the bigger players that can bully people around a bit are not trading because they're all away. And these guys, opportunities, instead of sitting there for 3 or 4 seconds, now sit there for 10 or 15 seconds. Instead of getting away, the most you can get away is a 10 lot because all the big dogs take everything. You can now get a 50 lot on because they're not there. So I do know guys where it's the opposite. But in general, like over Christmas time, pretty dead. The US summer, pretty dead. If there's a soccer World Cup, rugby World Cup, the Olympics, that type of stuff, going to be pretty dead, right? So simple things like that. And there's a bunch of more advanced things you can do. But that's just something to kind of get you thinking about some ways you can be more focused with your attention. I think it's much better for people to, as an example, trade the first 2 hours and then review the first 2 hours action on replay for 20 or 30 minutes versus sitting through 2 hours of a really boring session over lunch. I think that gives you more bang for your buck. Okay, so what are some other things you can do? Like I've said there, anything good taken too far becomes bad, right? So to give you another crummy example, if we take democracy, which I think most people in the Western world is a concept that they prefer over other alternatives, you take that too far, that means that every single decision that's made in government needs to be voted on by every single person. Like that, and that's just not feasible. It doesn't work. I've said it a bunch of times. You've got to be willing to step away from the screen. Like too many traders feel guilty about taking time off from the screen, either during the day, so stepping away during those dead kind of lunch hours, or on a longer term basis. I think it's better to work really hard when the going is good and step away if it's not, for days at a time if need be. This is where a good broker can help you to kind of tell you the market's picking up. Don't be scared if nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. And it's one of the worst things you can do is just start inventing trades because you're bored. I think it's huge to have hobbies and distractions outside of trading that define you and give you goals. Okay, so play a sport, join a club or society or something. Have something where the situation you're trying to avoid is you're trying to avoid a situation where if you have a bad day trading, your whole day is ruined, right? And so you go home and you fight with the missus and you kick the dog, and because you've had a bad day trading, now everything is bad. You want to be able to, sure, I had a bad day trading, but I played touch footy in the afternoon. I did really well and had a good time and drank a couple of beers with my mates, and that was awesome. So my day's not so bad, or something like that, right? Find things outside of trading that you can focus on. Now, even that can be taken too far, right? So I think what you also want to avoid is you want to avoid being one of those people that like literally just cannot switch off no matter what. So if you're trading, you're like hyper focused and you sit at the screen until your eyes bleed. And then when you go to touch footy, you're like so competitive that you run over a 12-year-old girl because you want to score the winning try. And all you do is sit there and read self-improvement books. And it's like, there are times when you actually just need to go, just chill out, right? Like just chill out. You don't want to be the person that gets so into refining every gram of their diet that you go to, it's your birthday party and you won't have a piece of cake. Or, I'm so pedantic about not putting alcohol in my system that my mate of 10 years ago from high school is in town. I haven't seen him in 10 years and I won't have a beer with the guy. Like, give me a break. You need to just be able sometimes to just totally veg out, totally veg out, totally chill out. Some people can do it a bit too long. Some people don't do it long enough. Again, it's about finding balance. But I think the moral of the story is that a lot of the stuff you need to start edging towards the middle of the bell curve a little bit more, because to just be on all the time is no good for you. You absolutely need time to recharge, rejuvenate, recuperate, recover. It's super important if you want longevity in this industry.